All right, hello everyone. My name is Jim Shelvy with Nexcore. I'm here with Alison from, I always get this wrong, so BTP Photography,
Yeah.
right? BTP. What does the BTP stand for?
Been there photography. The P is literally photography.
So next week we're having Joanne from Done That Photography will be here. Sorry. Anyway.
Or Allison with 2 L's. Just
Allison.
yeah, that would be
You gotta do it. You gotta.
I
Okay.
don't know.
Anyway,
Whatever.
we're breaking the new table.
Hi.
Shout out, take a look at this table. Shout out to AJ Sanchez from St. Louis Underground who did this table and it looks amazing.
Super dope.
It says Nexcore and then podcast, but it's all kind of put together. It's awesome. Thank you for that, Mr. Sanchez. So we're gonna get right into this. My wife is so excited for you to be on this show. And for the life of me, I can't think of why.
Because we're exactly alike.
Oh.
Yeah, probably.
Except for maybe the hair.
Mine's a little wild today. You guys got to see a rare occurrence of it straight yesterday.
Gotcha.
But when you have business GPS at 8 o'clock in the morning and have to get up before 8 o'clock in the morning, that doesn't happen.
Did you do yoga today?
I did not. Because I had to be here and look like a girl.
All right. Well, me too. All right, let's get right into it. So, Allison, you're a relatively new member here with Nexcore. How did you find us? Why did you join? Just get that out of the way first.
So Bobby Drummond invited me to Business GPS Wednesdays, 8 a.m. Join us. Shameless plug.
Shout out, I suppose.
And so I quit my job, my stable, normal 9-to-5 job at the end of March to do my.
She got fired.
I did not get fired. I might have almost got fired that last week though. No. I was in HR for years and then was turning down work to do my photography. And so...
You were in HR?
I was in HR, believe it or not.
Did you ever get written up for violating HR policies?
No.
Okay.
I'm a good girl. Yes. Anyway, and so April 1st was my first day out on my own doing full-time photography thing.
No fooling?
Hmm?
No fooling? No fooling.
No
It was
fooling.
April 1st.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So, joke's on me.
It'll be a long interview.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one. So, I'm Southern. We talk slow. He doesn't. Anyway, well, you are from Louisville, so I guess technically...
No, I'm not.
You're not from Oklahoma?
No.
You're from here. Just kidding.
I'm from St. Louis.
You lived in Louisville, though.
STL.
Anyway, moving
I don't
on.
know what that
So, quit my job. You kind of hit a hump sometimes when you're an entrepreneur on your own and you think you can save the world and conquer it and whatever, and then you realize you need something more. And so Bobby has been a good friend of mine for a while, and he said, hey, I've started going to this new group. You should join me. I think you're going to love it. So came, and then I met you, and you pulled me aside, and you said, you need us and we need you. And we had a real conversation, and I went home and thought about it, and the next week I came back for another business GPS, and I said, let's do this.
You did. You did not make that weird gesture, though. You did not.
So, anyway. So here we are.
Let's talk about the entrepreneur struggles because it's real.
It's real.
Right? So there's a big difference between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur, right? And I think the difference is the wantrepreneur is just really unemployed, looking for the next thing. But you made a conscious decision to walk away from a good, stable job
with insurance,
to be self-employed and go for it. So, and that was just 4 months ago today.
Right.
4 months ago today. So, what's been the biggest struggle? And I want you to just, for the sake of this, I want you to be brutally honest, as honest as you're comfortable with, but be brutally honest about what it's like to go from stability to everything's on me.
It's pretty stressful. The biggest thing for me was I was around people all day that I could, iron sharpens iron, and I have a really cute pit bull rescue, and she was the only one at my office, which was my house. And my husband would come home after his job at the end of the day, and he was really, really tired of hearing, hey, I came up with these ideas. Will you look at this and do this? And he cares, but he didn't care. You know, you get to a point where it was my thing, not his passion. And so it just day one of trying this place, I came in and I met Kara and Meg and just so many people, and I knew this is where I needed to be because I had those people to just... One, it helps to, I focus a lot better here than I did at home. We're similar in that, oh, squirrel. So at home, there were so many other different things for me to do. And if I clean my kitchen for 3 hours, it doesn't help my business. So I needed to remove myself from that aspect as well. But just, that was the biggest struggle for me.
So what's the biggest struggle today?
Trusting myself that I'm on a right path and trusting the timing of what the universe is giving me. That just because I think something should be happening, things are still happening, but I can't snap my fingers and make that ideal place of where I'm goals. Things are happening, and I have to recognize the little victories, not the big picture victory.
Sure. So let's talk for a second about what you do. And it's kind of funny. So those of you that have not seen Alison's work, I will just tell you, she kind of joked around. She said, I'm not a photographer, F-A-U-X. And I got to tell you, I've seen your work, and it is absolutely top notch.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're legit. And how did you get into photography? What inspires you? Just what?
So the day that I fell in love with St. Louis and the day that I fell in love with photography happened the same day. So I was a little girl. St. Louis was always our weekend getaway spot for my family. And
where were you? If St. Louis was getting away from where?
So I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, which is why you hear the accent. Family's from Paducah, Kentucky. And then when I was in 3rd grade, we moved to Mount Vernon, Indiana, which is in the middle of nowhere. You might have heard of Evansville. That's the big city by my town. I am a literal South City Hoosier now. So, little St. Louis colloquialism there.
So, Hoosier in Indiana means resident, right? Hoosier in St. Louis means something completely different.
Completely different, and we'll let you Google that. So, anyway, so we would... We would come to St. Louis a lot. We took a big vacation every other year. But the off years, we would take weekend trips all over the place. And St. Louis was one of our main spots because we would go to Cardinals games. My first trip to St. Louis, we went to see Annie at the Fox Theater. Makes sense. And I fell in love. Because the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar. So...
I'm going to make her sing before this is over.
Probably. Okay. So, but we came here, and I just remember seeing the arch for the first time, and just, I was overwhelmed. And I knew this, and that became, when we saw the arch, I knew I was in my happy place, because I knew what was coming next. I fell in love with the architecture. I fell in love, even as a young kid, we went to Forest Park and all the different museums, and Cardinals games, which I've been a lifelong Cardinals fan, and I stole my grandma's camera sitting in the back seat and just started taking pictures of things, which they weren't as happy about it as I was, because that was long before digital came along, and I was burning through rolls of film. And so
now, is this like the 110 or the 35 millimeter?
This is a Kodak, you had to slide the thing over and wind it and all that deal. But I fell in love with photography that day because portraits are literally those memories that you freeze. And I knew that I needed to freeze what I saw in that time.
Gotcha. So let's talk about family, where you started. Mm-hmm. So when you say moved, who moved? And
So my mom and my birth father were separated, and my mom got remarried to who was my dad. He worked for the Army Corps of Engineers, so I always say I'm an Army Corps brat. We transferred to Mount Vernon because he worked for the dam. So, in the middle of nowhere. I learned, fun fact, that you have to learn the irrigation system, which has chemicals in it and which has water, before you run around in it. It's very important. But I learned that living in Mount Vernon.
No, it sounds like something you would learn that would result in, like, I don't know, an extra eyeball. Is that?
I made the correct decision the first time, thank goodness, but my dad informed me later that not all irrigation systems were created equally.
Gotcha. So then
Fun
there's
fact.
that.
Anyway.
So let's talk about you personally.
Mm-hmm.
And besides Cardinals games and photography, what makes you tick?
I am not a mom yet, and I think a lot of people ask why I do what I do. So I'm the vice president of Benton Park West Neighborhood Association. I kind of became the face when the neighborhood stabilization officer reduction issue became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I became the unofficial face for that because I wrote a really moving speech and went down to City Hall and said my piece. I want to create a world that is ready for my kids. And I feel like the world's not ready for them yet, because I want it to be a better place. And we have such a great city. Everyone wants to talk about what we're ranked within the top 3 every year in crime, but that's not my St. Louis. Yes, I hear the gunshots, and but so much good happens in this city, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to be known as the St. Louis photographer, because I'm a storyteller. If you look at my job description on Facebook, it says storyteller at BTP by Alison, a St. Louis photographer. Because I want to tell the beauty of St. Louis, the raw, real beauty that it is.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because St. Louis is always portrayed as something that it isn't. There's a lot of miraculous things that happen in the city, and I think if you've lived here and you move away, something always draws you back, some way, somehow. So in your professional career, you didn't start in photography, you quit a job. So what's your background prior to that?
Bartending after college, special event planning, then retail management to HR.
Gotcha. Retail's a tough gig.
And I studied journalism in college, so I was a sports reporter and photographer and all that good stuff.
Gotcha. What if you had advice for someone that wanted to get into photography, what would you say to them?
Quit now. No, I'm just kidding. No, you need to know why and what you want in photography, because there's so many things that you can do, from landscape to people to events to, you need to find what makes you tick, and you miss all the shots you don't take. So you need to get out there and just
Who said that?
I don't know, but I know that's
I think it was Wayne Gretzky.
Yes.
Somebody look it up, put it in the
Wayne
comments.
Gretzky said that. But it's the same true with photography. I learn more from my camera when I'm using it than when I'm reading something on a blog or doing the endless research I do every day. So get out there and use your camera.
Gotcha. So how did you meet your husband? When, where, how?
So our friend Jamie.
He's laughing at you.
So I was a server at BB King's Blues Club on 2nd Avenue in Nashville. And I had a really good friend that was a bouncer at Coyote Ugly next door. And
Time out. There's a real Coyote Ugly?
there's tons of them all over.
Okay.
The bar came before the movie.
Time in. Go ahead.
Okay. And so Jamie might have been interested in me and had tried to make dates more than just me having lunch with him. And so his friend Jason came into town from Jackson, Tennessee. We were in Nashville. And he said, "Hey, I want you to meet this girl. I've been trying to get her to date me for months. I think you'll like her, but I need you to help me." And so he brought Jason in to sit in my section, and this really quiet, dumb redneck sat in my section, and then I got to
I don't
talk
think
to
you're
him.
supposed to say dumb redneck.
I'm probably not, but it's
Okay.
about my husband, so it's fine. So we were just discussing, and I tried to talk him out of getting a club sandwich because I didn't like it, and he's like, I've been here before. It's like, there's no way you've been here before. I would have seen you. Long story short, we went out. We were friends for about 1.5 years, 2 years. He was scared to ask me out, and because he didn't want to try the long distance thing. And then...
And because you're really intimidating to people. Not me, but most people.
Okay. Okay. So, I was dating this guy that was a total tool. We'll say tool. And there's a lot of drama in that story, but we broke up. And Jason literally drove from Memphis the next day to check on me because a lot of rumors went around about the breakup. And he took me to lunch and he said, why do you keep dating these tools? And I was like, you find me a guy that I'm attracted to that's not a tool, and I'll go out with him. And he goes, what about me? And I went, huh? And didn't answer, and we finished our lunch and went home, and he texted me and he said, so, huh? Is that the answer? And I said, when do you come back again? And he came back again, and we've been together ever since. And we literally, so that was September of 2008. And we were married September of 2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just a year courting.
Mm-hmm.
But you knew him for
We knew
a couple years prior.
Yeah, 2 years, 2.5. Mm-hmm. Courting.
So...
Listen to you.
Big parts, Google that. So who has been an inspiration to you in your life?
My grandmother, she's my hero. She's so smart and so ridiculously hilarious. She lives in Possum Trot, Kentucky. Real place.
I don't need to say a word.
Yeah, that says everything. Her and my granddad both. So she was in banking for almost 30 years and then decided she didn't want to do that anymore and went back to school and became a preschool teacher and even got her master's. She was in her 50s. I was in 6th grade when she graduated summa cum laude from Murray State. And I remember just sitting there and seeing all these people that look like babies compared to her. And she walked across the stage and how ridiculously proud I was of her. And just, she was the best teacher, and now she's retired and enjoys every minute of it and occasionally does yoga. And I get to see her in 2 sleeps, and we're going to go get pedicures on Saturday. I can't wait. But she is everything that you would want to be in a woman, in my opinion. My faith is because of her. She's so smart, and she works her butt off, and it just, yeah, she's my hero.
She sounds like someone worthy of being a hero.
She's incredible.
When you describe her. So, and I agreed not to go too deep. So I just want to, you have something that inspired you to try and capture memories. And I don't know to what degree you're comfortable sharing.
So I became a portrait photographer because in 2004 my dad passed away. And we were getting pictures together to put out at the funeral. And we didn't have any of just me and him past the time I was 6 years old, because I was always behind the camera. And I realized in that moment how important it was I see it all the time. I was actually talking to Bobby Drummond about this today. Whenever I'm out at a Cardinals game or Forest Park or whatever, I see these moms and sometimes the dads, and the whole family is getting together. I was at the Arch this weekend, and there were 6 kids and the dad, and they were crowded around, and it was the cutest picture ever. And guess who was taking the picture? Mom.
Yeah.
Well, are the kids going to, God forbid something happens, but the kids were little. Are they going to remember Mom was there? Well, they are now, because I asked Mom to give me the phone and to get her tail over there. And yeah, I used her cell phone. But that's so important to freeze that time, because my dad wasn't at my wedding. My dad isn't going to be there when my kids are born. So those moments are important.
You did good. It's an emotional thing. I have a fun question.
Okay.
So, would you consider yourself a professional photographer?
I am a photographer, not a photographer. That's
right, but
my
you're
thing.
a professional photographer.
Yes.
So we'd like for you to look into the camera. And if you had to buy a cellular phone and you wanted to take the best quality of picture that you could take on a phone, what would be your top, like, one recommendation?
I own a Samsung phone.
Oh.
I had an iPhone a long time ago for like a week, and I said, please get this away from me. So, yeah.
Gosh.
Kevin, hands to yourself.
So, Kevin moved here from Illinois, and there's three things that you really need to know. And the poor little thing, he's a Cubs fan, right? He has an iPhone, and he doesn't know what's wrong with those two things.
Not everyone's perfect, and we just have to accept that and move on.
Yes, but
he's a gentleman and he owns a Canon, so I'm good with it.
You know what I think we should do, really? I think we should start a GoFundMe for Kevin. So just hashtag Kevin needs help. Anyway, so that alone made me as happy as I can be. So then there's that.
You've made me promise that you get to Office Space my Mac whenever it dies.
No, the Macs are good. The Macs are good computers. Okay. They're like a piece of machinery. Like
they are. That's why I have one.
You're working on something, and then you get the iPhone, and it is also a piece of.
It's a brick.
Not machinery.
Yeah. Let's move on.
So anyway,
we are not getting paid by Samsung, so let's move on.
So no, we're not, but we should. Hashtag send me a check. Anyway, so I want to hit you with some rapid fire questions. Just want to hear what you have to say, since you've taken a lot of pictures and tried a lot of St. Louis things. So the number one question I always have to ask is, Provel or mozzarella?
Both.
No, you can't do that. That's a cop-out. You get one pizza for the rest of your life. What's on it?
Mozzarella.
All right, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you coming by.
No, Provel on a sandwich or a salad. If you said four
the
words,
rope
like
Provel. The rope Provel on a salad is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
I'm not an Emo's fan. There's one Emo's in the city that I will eat at.
The Hampton one.
No.
Why? That's a good one.
Next question.
All right, next question. So I'm gonna just say some things. I want you to finish it. St. Louis has
balls.
All right, so tell me about that.
So I have a lens ball, and I'm in the process. My first level of my house is decorated in St. Louis decor, and I have not found a coffee table book that doesn't suck. So, because I don't think there is a single one that's been made by someone that's from or lives in St. Louis. Someone from New York City cannot make a proper coffee table book of my city. So I have this lens ball, and if you go to my Instagram, there is a picture of the style houses. Really awesome mural. That's my first one that I've published. Shout out to Randy and the Vines brothers for doing that. But it takes the image and flips it upside down, and it just makes a really cool thing. So I am been taking mental health days where I go around and take different pictures of the city, and I'm going to make a coffee table book. St. Louis has balls, the raw beauty of St. Louis.
Yeah, they're really cool. All joking aside, if you haven't seen Allison's balls, they're something to behold. They're incredible.
Mom, I'm sorry I didn't say that. That was all on his own.
No, they're like amazing. The one you sent, I've only seen I think two that you've done, and they're incredible. So this will be out on a lot of platforms. Would you go back in and put in the comments a couple of those images so people can see them? They're truly, truly incredible. So what are you hoping to get out of your photography career? Are you looking to, I'll just stop and let you answer that. What are you trying to do?
I want to be known as the storyteller of St. Louis. So whether that is family portraits in Benton Park, recently Bruce Franks had me come down to the Arch ribbon recutting, and that was a really important story to tell. I just want to tell your story, no matter what chapter you're on.
I love that, by the way.
I just want to be known as the storyteller, and I want to be the St. Louis photographer. The coolest moment for me, I was at Pride last month, and I handed somebody my business card, and he goes, "Oh, I've seen your stuff." He's like, you know, I'm really glad that you're out here because you're going to catch the story of the day rather than just who's here. And I was like, whoa, that's
really
what I
cool.
want. So
Absolutely. So, best neighborhood in St. Louis
Benton
to
Park
photograph.
West. Oh, to photograph. Ooh. St. Louis City. I'm just going to say St. Louis City because every neighborhood has its character and different reasons. Not the county, St. Louis City.
Gotcha. I think that's kind of a cop-out.
That's
Right.
fine.
Favorite landmark in St. Louis?
My favorite building right now is City Hall.
Okay.
My favorite landmark will always be the Arch just because I still get misty-eyed when I drive by it.
There's something amazing. Lauren and I talk about it all the time about when you're coming back home to St. Louis, and when the arch comes into view, it's always an emotional thing, and unless you've lived in the city, you don't understand what that means. What is your? Hold on. How are we on time, by the way?
We've been on for 27 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, we're good.
So we have.
Really?
I don't know. It's just time. This
We've got
place is
15 more minutes.
time suck. We have 3 more
I know,
minutes.
I'm kidding.
So, but we'll take an hour to type. So when you look for an image to take, what are you trying to capture? Like I've seen the ball images, and I'm joking around about those like previously, but they're incredible. So what inspires you to take that type of picture? What are you hoping to gain from that style of photography?
There's beauty in everything around us, whether it's like this table. Some would look at it as graffiti and not as art, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and there is a beauty to it. I hear people all the time, I don't like getting my picture taken, make sure I look skinny. Let me do my job. Let me get in there, I promise you. Kevin, for example, he's like, I never get a good picture taken, and he still hasn't stopped talking about his headshot that I did for him. So that's my goal, is I want you, just like you fell in love with the moment happening, maybe you didn't fall in love with the moment where you were getting your headshot taken, but you're going to have fun while you're getting your headshot taken. Right. That's going to be enough of a memory, and I want you to fall in love with that picture just like you did with that moment.
Gotcha. I want to take kind of the last few minutes and just let you be you for a second. And there's things, everybody in life has things that they look back on, and I don't know if there's any moment that you would consider a defining point in your life. I know you talked about when you fell in love with photography, but are there any defining moments in your life?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of, I knew as a little girl I was going to live here. I knew it. And I will never forget the moment at church that my husband came up to me and he told me he got accepted for an interview in St. Louis. And we literally screamed and jumped up and down in the middle of the kitchen at church. And that changed everything, because it was going to be the first time that he was more than 45 minutes away from his parents. It didn't matter to me. I've been hours away from my parents since I moved to Nashville. But we knew when we came to St. Louis for our honeymoon. Like, a lot of people think we're weird for that. The Cardinals were playing the Braves, and I'd never seen the Braves play at Busch. So, c'est la vie. But we came here, and I looked at him, and I said, I really want to live here one day. And that was in 2009. And in October of 2013, we made it happen. And in the process of being here, it took us 3 years to sell our house in Tennessee because the market was so bad. And just all these different things that we've been from crappy apartment to borderline dream home now. And it just, we've worked really hard to make this happen. And the dream was always for me to be able to do my photography full time once we had kids. And we have our fur baby now, Riley, but like, we're not at that, I don't want to say final goal, because we have others too. But like, where we are now, it's pretty special to be able to say that I freaking love my life. And I went from living in Tennessee where a going away party was planned for me and no one showed up, to living here, and I have the greatest tribe on earth. And I have people that, you know what, if something happened to me, I'm going to be missed, and by a great group of people. And I love my life. And not everybody gets to say that. And I've worked my ass off to get there. And I'm very, very blessed to be where I'm at.
That is you can't follow that. So, Allison,
Cool.
awesome job. Is there anything else you want to say? I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Follow me on Facebook, BTP by Allison. Allison has 1 L. I'm booking. Denise and I are having a brand new day very soon, August 14th. There's only 8 slots. That's headshots and a personal video. Denise is the bomb and brilliant at video. So if you need a personal video for your business, and obviously you need me to do your headshots, and I just released my fall and holiday specials. So let's get your Christmas card picture taken. Or
How do they find those specials?
At BTP by Allison on Instagram or Facebook.com/BTP by Allison.
Isn't it /?
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
Kevin, tiebreaker.
I don't think it is.
/?
Back.
/.
Is it //
It's the question mark
Yeah.
key.
Whatever.
Anyway, I feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit more. Your personality shines through. You're a phenomenal person. You're a great asset for our company to have you here. So thank you for sharing some time and some intimate memories. Thank you guys so much for watching. Join us next week for our member spotlight. This one was Alison Hillman with BTP by Allison. And she is not a photographer. #FAUX. What's the rest? Tographer?
TOGRAPHER.
Don't hashtag things you can't spell. So,
And I
note
don't.
to self. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.